You ever wonder why certain people come into your life only to leave just as quickly? Why relationships you once trusted suddenly fall apart? It's frustrating. It's painful. But what if I told you this isn't a mistake? What if I told you this is part of a bigger plan? See, we often think that losing people is a setback. But what if it's actually God's way of protecting you? What if He's not taking something from you, but rather removing what was never meant for you? Life has a way of shaking things up when we least expect it. One moment, everything seems to be going well, and the next, we find ourselves in situations that make us question everything. We experience betrayals, disappointments, and moments where people we once trusted show us a side we never thought existed. It feels unfair. It feels like we've been blindsided. But if we take a step back, we begin to realize that these disruptions are not random. They are a part of something greater. There are moments in life when things don't go according to our plans, and it's in these moments that we start to see people for who they truly are. It's easy to trust when everything is good, but when adversity comes, when pressure builds, that's when the mask starts slipping. People can say all the right things, make all the right promises, and show up in the ways we want them to until life throws a challenge our way. That's when their true character is revealed. Think about the times you've faced setbacks, heartbreaks, or disappointments. Those moments weren't just about the situation itself, they were also about revealing the people around you. When you were winning, when life was smooth, everyone seemed to be on your side, but when you hit a rough patch, did everyone stay? Did they support you the way they claimed they would? Or did some people suddenly become distant, indifferent, or even turn against you? God doesn't always show us who people are when times are good. Instead, He allows situations to unfold that force them to reveal themselves. This is why some friendships don't survive challenges. This is why some relationships crumble under pressure. It's not that the situation changed the person, it's that the situation revealed them. They were always that way, the hardship just made it visible. Sometimes God will allow you to go through a storm just to show you who was only there for the sunshine. We don't always see it right away because we want to believe in people, we want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but the reality is not everyone in our life is meant to stay. And not everyone around us is genuinely for us. Some people are there because they benefit from our presence, our success, or what we bring to the table. And the moment those benefits are gone, or even slightly reduced, they disappear. When disruptions happen in life, our first instinct is often to fix things. We try to hold on to relationships that are falling apart. We try to make excuses for people's behavior. We tell ourselves that they're just going through something, that they'll change, that if we just give them more time, things will go back to how they were. But in doing this, we miss the lesson. We fight to keep people that God is trying to remove. God doesn't just take people away for no reason. He allows them to reveal themselves so that we can make the right decision. The problem is, we often don't want to accept what we see. We ask for signs, but when the signs come, we ignore them. We pray for clarity, but when clarity shows up, we resist it because it's not what we wanted to hear. We cling to people whose season in our life has ended, and in doing so, we delay our own growth. Disruptions are uncomfortable. They challenge us. They force us to deal with things we'd rather not face, but they are necessary. Without them, we would continue trusting the wrong people, investing in relationships that are draining us, and surrounding ourselves with individuals who don't have our best interests at heart. One of the hardest things to accept is that not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. Some people are seasonal. Some people are there to teach you something, and once their role is done, they fade away. Others were never meant to be there in the first place, but we let them in, ignoring the warnings along the way. And when God starts to remove them, we fight against it, thinking we're losing something valuable, when in reality, we're being protected. God's way of revealing people is often through situations that force them to show their true nature. When challenges arise, the ones who are truly for you will remain, while the ones who were never genuine will find a way out. It might hurt to see people walk away, to watch relationships you valued fall apart, but in the long run, it is always for your good. The people who are meant to be in your life will withstand the trials, and the ones who were only there for their own gain will eventually expose themselves. Trust the process. Trust that every disruption, every challenge, and every unexpected shift is not meant to break you, but to open your eyes. So, it's not about losing people, it's about seeing who they really are. The truth isn't always comfortable, but it is always necessary. People often reveal who they truly are, not through what they say, but through what they do consistently over time. It's easy for someone to make promises, to speak words that sound convincing, to say they will always be there for you. But words alone don't build trust. Patterns do. A person's real character isn't found in what they tell you, it's found in how they show up time and time again, especially when it matters most. It's natural to want to believe people when they speak. We listen to their words, and because we desire connection, loyalty, and trust, we take those words at face value. But words can be deceptive. They can be crafted to manipulate, to create a false sense of security, to make you feel like someone is on your side when, in reality, their actions are telling a different story. The truth is, anyone can say the right things in the moment. When everything is calm, when there's nothing at stake, people can play whatever role they need to, but when challenges arise, when sacrifices need to be made, when there is no personal benefit to be gained, that's when you see who a person truly is. Think about the times someone made a promise to you, only to break it when it became inconvenient. Reflect on the people who said they would always be there, yet disappeared when you needed them most. Consider the ones who spoke about loyalty and honesty, yet their actions contradicted every word they said. These moments aren't coincidences. They are revelations. They are reminders that words can be spoken carelessly, but patterns never lie. Some people show you their true nature over and over again, but because you want to believe their words, you overlook their patterns. You forgive the repeated betrayals because you hold onto the one-time apology. But you justify the inconsistencies because you remember the moments when they were good to you. But the reality is, isolated moments don't define a person. Their habits do. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, takes advantage of your kindness, or disappears in moments of need, that's not an accident. That's who they are. There's a reason why some relationships, whether friendships, family connections, or romantic partnerships, never feel stable. One moment the person is kind and supportive, the next they are distant and indifferent. They lift you up one day and tear you down the next. These fluctuations create confusion, but they also serve a purpose. They show you a person's real intentions. A genuine person remains consistent. They don't switch based on their mood or convenience. But someone who is only around for their benefit will always shift depending on what serves them at the time. When someone cares about you, their actions will align with their words. They won't just say they value you, they will show it through how they treat you, through how they respect your time, your energy, your boundaries. And when someone doesn't truly care, they will make excuses, they will justify their behavior, they will do just enough to keep you believing in them while never actually proving themselves through real, sustained effort. Many times, we keep giving people second chances, hoping that this time will be different. We listen to their promises, believing that they mean it this time. But if someone has shown you a pattern of broken trust, inconsistency, or selfishness, why would this time be any different? A person's actions are not random. They are a reflection of their values, their priorities, and their true nature. Observing patterns requires stepping back and seeing the full picture. It means not getting caught up in isolated good moments, but instead evaluating the overall consistency of someone's behavior. Are they only supportive when it benefits them? Do they show up only when they need something, but disappear when you need support? Do they apologize for their mistakes, but repeat them again and again? These are the questions that reveal the truth. It can be difficult to accept that someone you care about doesn't have the same level of care for you. It's painful to realize that a person you trusted was never as genuine as they seemed. But ignoring the truth doesn't change it. No matter how much you want to believe in potential, in the idea that someone could be better, their patterns tell you who they really are in the present. Pay attention to what people do repeatedly. Pay attention to how they behave when they have nothing to gain. Pay attention to whether their actions match their words. You can make absolutely certain In an online relationship, you need to see which people mark you. If you find yourself constantly questioning someone's loyalty, honesty, or integrity, it's not paranoia. It's your intuition noticing the pattern. And the pattern is always more truthful than the promise. There are moments in life when everything feels like it's falling apart. People you trusted turn their backs on you. Relationships that once felt solid begin to crumble. The spaces where you once felt comfortable suddenly feel empty, lonely, and unfamiliar. It's in these moments that doubt creeps in. You wonder if you did something wrong, if you could have prevented it, if somehow, some way, you could have held everything together. But what if this isolation isn't a punishment? What if it's a setup for something greater? When God removes people from your life, it often feels like rejection, but in reality, it is protection. There are people who were never meant to go where you're headed. There are connections that served their purpose in one season, but can no longer support the weight of where you're going next. Growth requires separation. Every new level demands a shedding of the old habits, old environments, and sometimes old relationships. But because we crave familiarity, we resist this process. We try to hold on to what feels safe, even when it's no longer serving us. Think about the times you've felt alone, the times when certain friendships faded, when relationships ended, when people distanced themselves from you. In those moments, it may have felt like loss, but looking back, wasn't it also necessary? Weren't those the moments that pushed you to become stronger, to rely on yourself more, to develop a deeper connection with God? Sometimes, the very thing we see as a setback is actually a setup for our elevation. God sees things we don't see. He hears conversations we were never meant to hear. He knows the true intentions of people, even when their words and actions appear genuine. And when He begins to remove someone from your life, it's not always obvious why. It might feel confusing at first. The person may have never done anything obvious to betray you. There may not have been a huge falling out. But over time, you start to realize that the distance was necessary. The relationship was not built to last, and keeping them in your life would have only delayed what God was preparing for you. It's natural to want to understand why certain people leave. We want closure, so we might try our best to get it. We want explanations. But the truth is, sometimes we don't get the full picture until much later. Sometimes the explanation is simply that their role in your life was temporary. Not everyone is meant to stay. Some people are only part of the journey, not the destination. Holding on to the wrong people out of fear of loneliness only blocks the right people from entering. Elevation requires separation. When you are stepping into a new version of yourself, not everyone will be able to come with you. Some people will resist your growth because it forces them to confront their own stagnation. Some will resent you for changing because it makes them uncomfortable. Others will try to pull you back into old patterns, not because they want to harm you, but because they don't know how to support the new version of you. When isolation comes, it's easy to mistake it for abandonment. But God never isolates you without a purpose. He removes distractions so you can hear Him more clearly. He shifts your surroundings so you can focus on what truly matters. He takes away relationships that drain you so you have space for the ones that will build you. Look at any major transformation in life, and you'll notice a pattern. Before every breakthrough, there is a period of solitude. Before every great shift, there is a moment of separation. This is not by accident. It is a time of preparation, a time for realignment, a time to strengthen your foundation before stepping into something greater. People who were never truly for you cannot remain in your life when God is preparing you for something bigger. When you feel like you're losing connections, when you find yourself spending more time alone, when you notice certain relationships fading, ask yourself, what is God trying to make room for? Because every removal is a form of redirection. Every ending is a doorway to something greater. The higher you go, the lighter you must become. And sometimes that means releasing people who can no longer climb with you. Jeremiah. Time has a way of bringing the truth to the surface. People can pretend for a while, they can wear masks, say the right things, and play the role they think you need them to play. But disguises don't last forever. Eventually, a person's true character will reveal itself, not through what they say, but through what they do when they think no one is watching, when the pressure is on, or when they no longer need something from you. There's a reason deception doesn't last. A person can only pretend to be someone they're not for so long before their real nature starts to slip through the cracks. In the beginning, they may seem supportive, kind, or loyal, but over time, inconsistencies begin to show. Their words may promise one thing, but their actions begin to tell another story. At first, it may seem small, a moment of dishonesty, a broken promise, an unexplained shift in their attitude. But as long as they defend, they're trying to defend their heart, their mind, their words, and their actions. They weaken vulnerability. But if you pay attention, these moments aren't isolated. They are glimpses into who they really are. When people have hidden agendas, they may be able to disguise their intentions for a season, but eventually the truth finds its way out. This is why time is one of the greatest tests of authenticity. Fake people cannot maintain and act forever because deception requires effort, and over time, effort fades. Realness, on the other hand, is effortless. A person who is genuinely kind doesn't have to force kindness. A person who is truly loyal doesn't have to put on a performance to appear trustworthy, but someone who is pretending, they will slip. And when they do, it won't be by accident. It will be because their mask was never real to begin with. Think about the moments when someone revealed their true colors. Maybe it was a time when you were struggling, and instead of supporting you, they distanced themselves. Maybe it was a situation where you needed honesty, but they chose to lie. Maybe they spoke highly of you in front of others, but criticized you behind your back. Whatever the case, their actions eventually told the truth. And once the truth is revealed, it cannot be unseen. God allows these moments to happen not to hurt you, but to help you. If a person is not meant to be in your life, He will allow circumstances to arise that bring their true nature into the light. At first, it may feel like betrayal, like disappointment, like confusion. You may even try to make excuses for their behavior, hoping that what you saw was just a mistake. But over time, the pattern repeats. And the more it repeats, the more undeniable it becomes. People will always show you who they are if you give them enough time. This is why patience is so important when it comes to relationships. Rushing to trust someone before seeing their true character can lead to heartbreak. But if you allow time to do its work, if you observe rather than just listen, you will begin to see the truth long before it has the chance to hurt you. Many times, people are exposed in moments of pressure. When things are easy, when there's nothing at stake, it's simple to play a role. But when a challenge arises, when standing by your side requires sacrifice, when there is no immediate benefit to being in your life, that's when you see who is real and who is not. A person who is only in your life for what they can gain will always reveal themselves when the benefits disappear. The truth has a way of surfacing at the right time. It may not happen immediately, but it will, no matter how carefully someone tries to disguise their intentions. No matter how convincing their words may be, no matter how much they try to manipulate the situation, eventually their real nature will show. And when it does, it's not a mistake. It's clarity. Pay attention to the way people treat you when they don't need anything from you. Watch how they act when you're not in the room. Notice the way they respond when you're struggling versus when you're thriving. The true character is not revealed in moments of convenience, but in moments of truth. And once you see someone for who they truly are, the choice is yours. Will you accept what has been revealed, or will you continue believing in the illusion? Not everyone in your life is meant to stay. Some people enter your world with temporary roles, serving a purpose for a specific season. But the problem is, when you become attached to those who are only meant to be there for a short time, you start to confuse their presence with permanence. You start to believe that just because someone was important in one chapter, they should be in every chapter. But that's not how life works, and that's not how God operates. When God begins to remove people from your life, it can feel painful, confusing, and sometimes even unfair. You might question why a friendship that felt strong suddenly fades. You might wonder why someone who once seemed supportive is now distant. You might struggle to understand why a person who once added value to your life now feels like they are draining you. But every removal has a reason, even if you don't see it immediately. Sometimes people are taken out of your life because they have already served their purpose. They were meant to teach you something, to help you grow, or to show you a different perspective. But their assignment in your life is complete, and keeping them around past their expiration date only holds you back. You cannot move forward while carrying people who are no longer aligned with your journey. There are also times when God removes people to protect you. You may not see the danger, the hidden motives, or the way someone is holding you back, but He does. You may believe someone has your best interest at heart when, in reality, they are secretly competing with you, resenting your progress, or waiting for the moment to betray you. God knows what conversations you never heard. He sees the jealousy, the dishonesty, the manipulation that you might not recognize at first. And so He starts creating distance. He starts making their absence unavoidable. At first, it might feel like a loss, but in reality, it's a form of deliverance. Some people cannot go where you are going. Their presence in your life would only slow you down, distract you, or keep you tied to an old version of yourself. And the more you try to hold on, the more you block the blessings that are waiting for you. Growth requires letting go. You cannot receive new opportunities while clinging to what was never meant to last. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to force relationships that God is trying to remove. You may think you can fix things, that if you just try harder, communicate better, or compromise more, the relationship will work. But what if the dysfunction is not meant to be fixed? What if the separation is a sign that you are evolving and that person was never meant to continue with you? Holding on to relationships that are no longer aligned with your purpose only creates frustration, delays, and unnecessary pain. Letting go does not mean you don't care. It does not mean you are bitter, angry, or unwilling to forgive. It simply means you trust that God knows what is best for you. It means you are willing to release what is no longer serving you so that you can make room for what is. Some people were only meant to be lessons, not lifelong companions. And the sooner you recognize this, the sooner you can move forward without carrying unnecessary burdens. There will be moments when you look back and realize that the people who left were never truly meant to stay. You will see how their absence made space for better connections, deeper relationships, and new opportunities. What once felt like rejection will be revealed as redirection. What once seemed like loss will be understood as a necessary transition. God does not take away without replacing, but you cannot receive the new if you are still holding on to the old. Every time a person exits your life, ask yourself, was this removal making space for something greater? Was this person truly supporting my growth? Or was I just comfortable with their presence? Did they add to my purpose, or were they quietly holding me back? The answers to these questions will make it easier to embrace change. Not everyone is meant to be permanent, and that's okay. The right people will always align with your journey, and those who are removed were never part of the final destination. God's timing is perfect. And sometimes the reason certain people leave your life isn't because you did anything wrong or because they suddenly stopped caring. Instead, it's because your purpose is shifting and you are being prepared for the next phase of your journey. What often happens is that when God begins to elevate you, He begins to expose the people around you who were never meant to be in that new chapter. Some people simply cannot go where you are headed, and their departure is a sign of divine alignment. When God removes people from your life, it's easy to get caught up in feelings of betrayal, sadness, and confusion. You might find yourself looking back, wondering what went wrong or why it had to happen this way. But what if the very removal of these people is God's way of protecting you from harm, disappointment, or distractions? What if, in His wisdom, He is clearing the path for what He truly has in store for you? It's essential to understand that not every person who comes into your life is meant to stay forever. Some people serve their purpose for a season, and when that season is over, they are no longer needed for your next steps. The mistake most people make is trying to hold on to relationships that were never meant to be permanent. Again, the mystery here is not that sometimes stuff is meant to go ugly. The mystery here is that we are not meant to be permanent. We grow comfortable with the people in our lives, even when their presence no longer serves our best interest or supports our growth. But when God removes someone, it's not just about the person. It's about the space they are occupying in your life and the need for that space to be cleared so something better can enter. Consider the relationships that may have been draining you, those individuals who required more from you than they gave in return. So, whether it was emotional manipulation, selfishness, or a lack of true support, these people may have been wearing you down without you realizing it. Their presence in your life may have been keeping you from focusing on your purpose, from pursuing your dreams, or from growing into the person God has called you to be. When God removes these individuals, it's because they cannot be part of the new version of you that He is shaping. Their energy and influence were keeping you in a cycle of stagnation or distraction, preventing you from moving forward in alignment with your destiny. Sometimes God will reveal a person's true character in the most subtle ways. Maybe they begin to pull away slowly, or their actions no longer align with their words. Or perhaps, when you need them the most, they are nowhere to be found. The truth comes in waves, and as these realizations come to light, the pain may be sharp, but it is also a form of clarity. God is showing you who really supports you, who truly believes in you, and who only wants to be around when it benefits them. The people who leave or distance themselves from you may not have been the ones who were meant to go to the next level with you, and it's essential to recognize that. The process of God removing people from your life can be painful, but it's also a blessing in disguise. When you are no longer surrounded by those who hold you back, you begin to create space for new, healthier relationships. Relationships that will support, uplift, and encourage you on your journey. The people who enter your life next will be aligned with your purpose, your vision, and your values. And while the transition may not always be easy, the reward of finding those who are truly meant to walk with you on your path will make it all worthwhile. God's wisdom and understanding far exceed our own. We may not always see the bigger picture in the moment, but He does. He understands what you need, who will add value to your life, and who will hinder your growth. Trusting in His timing and His plan allows you to release the people who no longer belong in your story. Instead of focusing on the hurt or confusion of their departure, shift your focus toward gratitude for the lessons they taught you and the strength you've gained from the experience. When people leave, remember that they are not leaving by accident. They are being moved out of your life for a reason. It is not always about their behavior or actions. Sometimes it's about you stepping into a higher calling. The people who leave were never meant to be part of the person you are becoming, and though it may feel like a loss, it is ultimately a gain. As hard as it may seem, allow God to handle the removals and trust that He is clearing your way for something greater. The people who leave will always be replaced by those who are better suited to your journey, and you'll soon realize that their absence was exactly what you needed to step into your next chapter.